Van Compass is really one of the innovators and inventors of the adventure van market. We've been in this game since 2015. When we bring something to market, we want to bring something to market that's cost effective, has the peak performance and longevity that is expected of an OE level product. There's other options out there these days when it comes to suspension and aftermarket components for these vans. I want you to trust me when I say nothing comes close to this for performance. We spent 3 years on this. And the reason it took 3 years is because it simply wasn't ready. Nothing else out there comes close. It's all kind of one-off. It's not really designed with that OE level mindset and serviceability in mind. It's simply old technology adapted to this chassis, where everything here is brand new. Hello, Rob from Van Compass here, and today we're going to be talking to you about our new Falcon inverted rally strut. So to begin with, what is a strut? Well, a strut is an integral part of the front suspension. It is literally what's attaching your wheel to the vehicle. It is the axis of which the tire is rotating around. It is a wear item as well. It has to deal with a tremendous amount of side load forces from the tire on your, say, 9,000 to 10,000 pound Sprinter van. It also mounts directly to the steering knuckle, which puts the damper itself in a near 1-to-1 motion ratio with your tire's wheel travel. So as your tire moves up an inch, the strut is moving up nearly that same inch. Now it's not a direct 1-to-1, but it's pretty much as close as you can get to a 1-to-1 motion travel ratio. So a stock Mercedes Sprinter, although it has a relatively high price point, Mercedes is still a business. So they're trying to cut costs wherever possible. The factory damper is one of those situations where they really spent not quite enough money on the product itself. In order to deal with the tremendous amount of side load forces that a strut sees, you have to get strength into this thing. So to do that with a traditional strut is you have to run a really large shock shaft, because you need to get this DU bearing surface area as big as you can in order to be able to not wear immediately. So when you run the large shock shaft, the next problem that comes down the line is how do you get oil into your piston, because you have a very set size here. Now you can go bigger on the size with, say, an aftermarket setup, but you still have the problem of you're running a very large shock shaft and you need to somehow get oil into that piston. Now the two ways to do it is you can either machine down your shock shaft. As you can see, the OE strut is like that. You can see it's tapered like this to try to get oil into those piston ports. Well, the problem is now you're expecting oil to turn. You're getting into a fluid dynamics problem where your oil flow just isn't as effective through the piston as it really could be. Now, with all that in mind, and 3 years of development with Falcon, we really wanted to bring something to market that was the best in the industry. So this is our new 3.3 fast adjust inverted rally strut. This particular model is for a two-wheel drive Sprinter van. They are available in two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, and for all-wheel drive Sprinter van models. Now, the performance we were able to get out of our inverted rally strut, it even surprised us, to be honest. Now, I've spent a lot of time in the off-road industry, both in the aftermarket world and the racing world. I've raced the Baja 1000, I've raced Ultra 4, I've built Ultra 4 cars, Ultimate Adventure, go down the list. I've done it, I've built trucks to do it, I own trucks to do it. This surprised the hell out of me, to be totally honest. From two standpoints, really. It shouldn't be as good as it is. It doesn't have that much wheel travel. Sprinter van is a very limited travel vehicle, and it is, if we're being honest, it's a poor front suspension design. It's a transverse mono leaf spring, but when you have this setup on the van and you are driving it to its absolute limit off-road, the vehicle feels like it has double the wheel travel than it actually does. With the inverted design, we're not relying on the damper's shaft itself for side load strength, which means we run our standard 3/4 inch shaft that we run in all of our Falcon shock assemblies. And we run our big 2-inch piston. we don't have to worry about getting the oil to get into the piston's ports because it's our standard setup. We have big ports on the piston, so we have phenomenal oil flow, which means the damping profiles we can get out of this design is simply unmatched. The strut body itself, remember I said we spent 3 years of development on this? Well, the reason is a lot of it is the strut body and the strut tube. Now this strut body is actually an extrusion. We developed a full extrusion that is similar in shape to the finished product. We then come in and machine the critical surfaces, add in features like ABS sensor wiring clips, cam bolt adjustability, and something that is really unique is clamping force surface that is improved from OEM. The inverted design is so much better, first of all, because of strength. You know, our DU surface bearing area is gigantic. I'll show you here in a minute just how much larger it is, but when you calc it out, we're looking at a 600% increase in DU bearing surface area. That is giant. Top of that, our damper itself is isolated from the elements. So our DU bearing surface area is exposed to the elements, but we're protecting it with a boot. We're using an extremely high-end seal on it. The damper itself, though, is isolated. So the actual shock shaft that is plunging into oil never sees snow, sand, dirt, mud, water. It never sees any of that. It's a contained assembly. So your oil stays completely clean and your seals stay fresh for the life of the strut. Now our current suspension systems work extremely well in improving the spur van's on-road and off-road performance. But this new inverted rally strut unlocks those packages. You will experience an upgrade in performance that you didn't know was possible with your suspension system that's already on the vehicle. I think currently sprinters are often laughed at. They're the butt of the joke in the overland world and the off-road world because it's just a silly cargo van. This changes that. This really changes it. These things are true performance machines with this suspension setup on it.